Hi everyone, it's from Phyllis. Once upon a time, there was an ogre named Shrek, an unlikely hero who finds himself on a life-changing journey alongside a wisecracking donkey and a feisty princess. And we are thrilled to have joining us the ogre named Shrek, also known as Kyle Blair, and his lovely princess, also known as Elizabeth Stenholt. Welcome, and thank you both for joining us.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Phyllis.
And the fun has begun. What are some of the best parts of this production?
One thing that I love, aside from our wonderful cast, I can't say enough good things when people ask about what my favorite part is. I can't say enough about the cast. I truly do love everybody. Um, and all of the backstage people. I mean, these are all early morning shows, especially for people in the theater community. These are pretty early shows. But you would never know it. Everybody brings, I think, their best, most cheerful selves that we can muster to the morning show, and it's a short show, but it's wonderful to be there with the people who are making it as well. Um, and then the other thing that I wasn't expecting was the how vocal the student audiences are. I mean, from the moment, even before anybody comes on stage, from the moment the lights start to go down, I mean, screaming, absolutely screaming. And
Like a big truly.
truly, I mean, I think it probably has to do with this is probably a lot of students' first time ever seeing a show, maybe ever taking
Wow.
a field trip, after, so long without large group events like this because of the pandemic and everything. So I think it's very special to be able to perform for kids who are so free to be vocal. I mean, as an actor, that's what we want. We always want an audience that's engaged and vocal, and kids even less so have a block about laughing or about talking back to a lot of the characters, and that's been very fun and keeps us on our toes.
Do you guys have a favorite scene?
Yeah, I mean I agree with the ability that we can reach kids who may not have ever seen a show. I think is
Right.
is what theater is really about. And I also just love the cat. Our donkey Michael Turrentine is just whip smart, funny, comedic timing like nobody's business. And he improvises things constantly and is just always creating new moments. Even like smaller characters like Pinocchio and Gingy, the gingerbread man, and the woman who voices our dragon. Everyone is so well cast, and it's such a strong cast of people, which is sometimes rare for TYA, but everyone is,
Right.
it's like a full Broadway musical to us. We are just putting our all in it.
I would
Oh,
say I would say my favorite scene to do, because a lot of the time spent is with just Shrek and Donkey, or Shrek and Donkey and Fiona, and there is a scene in the later half of the show where all of the fairy tale creatures come together to sort of convince Shrek that he is worthwhile and he does deserve love and he does um have everything within him to believe in himself. It's a song called Freak Flag, where the other fairy tale characters are stepping into believing in themselves, trying to get Shrek to raise his freak flag up, and um, to be able to have the full cast looking at you, or rather looking at me as Shrek, and seeing a group of people who you really love all cheering you on
wow.
stage as the song is going on is definitely one of my favorite scenes.
So you guys get the call or the email or however they told you that you're going to be playing Shrek, and Elizabeth, you're going to be playing Princess Fiona. So what goes through your head? I mean, that's crazy.
It is crazy. It's always because as actors, you are auditioning constantly. The work doesn't stop.
Right.
So that call or that email that your work is paid off, and it's for like for a show that's iconic as Shrek, and the characters like Fiona and Shrek that are just like everyone knows who they are, and
Right.
they're empowering and beautiful and unique, and just like having that email saying like, hey, watched the movie since you were a kid, that is just, it's so exhilarating, so thrilling. And then of course the worst part is waiting for rehearsals to start.
Shrek's been sort of lived as a dream role for me. And I was lucky enough to play it now like 10 years ago, which is still so strange for me to think of, that I am getting another chance to revisit this part.
Yeah.
But I can remember thinking 10 years ago, it's such, I think Shrek specifically lives as a dream role, especially for a lot of male presenting theater actors who don't feel like hype. He sort of lives in the music theater canon as the only, like one of the only non-leading men leading men. You know, he's like big and ugly, and he's full of bodily functions that he has on full display. And he's sort of the opposite. And the point is that we get to see a protagonist who is the opposite of the sort of young Prince Charming type. So for tall actors of size who have sort of found themselves playing a lot of dads, playing a lot of funny best friends, to get the chance to be centered and have a love story, to get to play a love story, and to get to play someone who has sort of been used to thinking of themselves a certain way, but then through friends and through loved ones, gets to discover that that's not the only way that you have to think about yourself, or that that's not the only way that you can be. Shrek specifically just lives in a very special place for me. So I'm very grateful to get to tell the story to kids who also might be feeling or thinking the same things that I was when I think about Shrek.
So how is this production different from, the movie or the movies? What is it? Shrek 1, 2, 3. I think there's been 3. How is this different than the actual movies?
Well, let's just start the song to help you build a character arc more, and you learn more about the characters through their songs. Especially in the full-fledged version, it really goes into Shrek's past and Fiona, and you can empathize with them a little bit more. The songs are not only a bop after bop, like every song is so catchy and so fun, and sometimes really darkly funny too. Like our Lord Farquaad, his character is dark, that like the darkness to him person. But it is mostly the same story. It's what you're gonna get when you see Shrek, but there's just more. There's just more to the story in our version.
I mean, do you guys do something like the whole cast backstage? Do you guys have something like that?
We, I think just by virtue of a lot of people living in the city and then commuting out to be able to perform at Drury Lane, we're kind of making it right under the wire a lot of times. So
Okay.
sometimes I will not see someone for the first time until we get on stage in a scene together, which I don't like. I don't prefer that. But that's just how it happens sometimes, having to put on the ogre that I have to do in our call time before the show. But luckily, there's about half of us who share the same dressing room together. Okay. So that's one of my favorite parts, is just sort of, everyone's sort of rushing to get ready, but you have this swirl of friends around you who are so specific that we do together. I do try to make it a point to say hello or good morning to as many people as possible before we get on stage.
I carpool with Michael Turrentine, who plays our donkey. And so our morning ritual is like talking about our days, talking about our nights, our long weekends, getting together. And then Kyle usually makes it a point, because for the first 20 minutes of the show, I'm not in it.
Right.
So Kyle usually comes into my dressing room just to say hi, so that the first time we're seeing each other isn't the first time that Fiona is meeting Shrek. So that is one of our rituals that we have daily.
But thank you again. Guys, you do not want to miss Shrek. The musical is playing now through March 25th at the beautiful and iconic Drury Lane Theater. Thank you, guys, and we will see you real soon.
We'll see you.
Thanks, Phyllis.
We'll see you, audience. Thank you.
We'll see you at the Swamp.